Imagine a world where computers weren't sleek, smart devices in our pockets, but room-sized machines, temperamental and mysterious, understood only by a few. Imagine that world, and then imagine a woman walking into it, fearless, brilliant, and determined to change it forever. That woman is Grace Hopper, a pioneer who transformed computing, who made technology accessible, and whose name should be shouted from every corner of history, but somehow, quietly, it often isn't. Today, on Legends Without Applause, we're going to uncover the incredible story of Grace Hopper, a hero whose work shaped the modern world, yet whose story remains largely unsung. Grace Hopper was born in 1906 in New York City. From a young age, she displayed an unusual curiosity, a mind that questioned, experimented, and never settled for simple answers. While other children played games, Grace was fascinated by how things worked. She took apart clocks, examined engines, and absorbed knowledge like a sponge. But it wasn't just curiosity, it was intelligence coupled with tenacity. She had a vision even then, though she couldn't have known exactly where it would take her. Fast forward to a world at war. The 1940s brought World War II, and Grace, like many Americans, wanted to serve her country. But she did it in her own way. While men went to the front lines, she joined the U.S. Navy Reserve as a lieutenant. She had already earned a Ph.D. in mathematics from Yale, a rare achievement for a woman at the time, and she brought that extraordinary intellect to the war effort. She was assigned to the Bureau of Ordnance Computation project at Harvard University, where she worked on the Mark I computer, a machine so massive it took up an entire room and required teams of people just to operate. Now, think about this. In a time when women were often sidelined from science and technology, Grace didn't just participate, she excelled. She mastered this enormous machine, worked tirelessly to solve complex problems, and laid the groundwork for modern programming. But her true genius went beyond understanding how computers worked. She envisioned a world where computers could understand language closer to what humans used, rather than being forced to speak in strict sequences of numbers and codes. She imagined accessibility before it was even a concept in computing. In 1944, the Mark I was still a marvel, but it was rigid and unforgiving. Hopper's insight changed that. She developed programming techniques that allowed machines to be more flexible, to work efficiently, and to translate human commands into computer-readable instructions. She understood that technology should not intimidate humans, it should empower them. This might seem ordinary now, but at the time, it was revolutionary. Grace Hopper was thinking about making machines think for people in ways most could not even imagine. Her journey didn't stop there. After the war, Hopper continued her Navy service and devoted herself to computing. She was instrumental in developing COBOL, one of the first programming languages designed for business use. COBOL allowed ordinary people to interact with computers without needing to understand the complex machinery behind them. Imagine the leap that represented at the time. Computers had been the domain of mathematicians and engineers, and Grace Hopper opened the doors to a whole new generation of users. She made technology democratic, understandable, and practical. Grace Hopper's career is full of legendary anecdotes that capture her ingenuity and her unique approach to problem-solving. One of the most famous stories involves a real moth she found inside a computer relay, causing it to malfunction. She carefully removed it, taped it into the logbook, and noted it as the first actual case of a bug being found. This is where the term debugging gained real-world fame. But beyond the humor, this story reflects something deeper. Hopper approached problems with curiosity, precision, and an unshakable belief that every obstacle had a solution. She didn't just see errors, she saw opportunities for learning and improvement. Throughout her life, Hopper shattered countless barriers. She worked in a male-dominated field at a time when women were often discouraged from pursuing science, mathematics, or military careers. She proved, through skill and persistence, that talent knows no gender. She rose to the rank of Rear Admiral in the U.S. Navy, one of the highest positions any woman had achieved at the time, and she continued working on computers well into her 70s. Imagine a life devoted not to fame or accolades, but to discovery, service, and the advancement of knowledge. Despite her immense contributions, Grace Hopper's name often remains absent from mainstream discussions of computing history. Most people know the internet exists, that computers run our modern world, and that software is essential, but few know about the woman who made programming comprehensible, accessible, and practical. Her life reminds us that the heroes of progress aren't always the ones in textbooks or in the spotlight. They are often quiet innovators, persistent in their work, dedicated to making the world better without expecting applause. Hopper also had a unique ability to inspire others. She was known for her humor, her storytelling, and her knack for teaching. She could take the most complex technical concepts and explain them in ways anyone could understand. Her lectures were legendary, not just for the knowledge she shared, but for the way she encouraged curiosity, confidence, and ambition. She believed in empowering others, in creating environments where innovation could flourish. That mentorship legacy alone has influenced countless engineers and programmers who have gone on to shape the digital world we live in today. Her influence extends far beyond her direct contributions to computing. By pushing boundaries, challenging conventions, and advocating for clarity and accessibility in technology, Hopper transformed the way humans interact with machines. She showed that technology should serve people, not the other way around, and that ingenuity coupled with vision can change entire industries. She helped define modern computing, not just in theory, but in practice. And yet, Grace Hopper was humble. She did not seek fame. She was often more interested in solving a problem, teaching others, or improving systems than in receiving recognition. She understood that true impact is measured by what you create and the doors you open for others, not by headlines or awards. Even after being promoted to Rear Admiral, she continued her work as a programmer and educator, showing the world that age, gender, or rank cannot limit someone who is dedicated to discovery and service. One of Hopper's lasting legacies is the concept of machine-independent programming. Before her, computers were tied to specific hardware, making them rigid and difficult to use. Hopper foresaw a future where software could transcend these limitations, where a program could be run on any machine without needing to be rewritten. This insight was foundational to modern computing, and it shaped the way software is developed today. Her vision was not just practical, it was transformative. Imagine the impact of her work in today's world. Every app on your phone, every program you run on your computer, every automated system in banking, transportation, or communication owes something to Grace Hopper's innovations. Every time a non-technical person interacts with software without needing to understand the machine beneath it, they are benefiting from her pioneering work. She didn't just write code, she opened the doors for millions of people to interact with technology confidently and efficiently. Grace Hopper's story also teaches an important lesson about perseverance. She faced sexism, skepticism, and institutional barriers, yet she persisted. She demonstrated that brilliance, combined with determination and courage, can overcome obstacles that seem insurmountable. She also showed that one person's contributions can ripple outward, creating change far beyond their immediate environment. Hopper's work didn't just solve problems of her time, it created a foundation for future generations to build upon, innovate, and expand. And so, when we think of legends without applause, Grace Hopper stands as one of the brightest examples. She lived a life of intellect, service, and innovation, transforming the world quietly but profoundly. She changed how humans interact with technology. She empowered countless engineers and programmers, and she broke barriers for women in science and the military. Yet her story remains lesser known outside of technical circles, a quiet hero in a world dominated by louder names. Her life is a reminder that heroism comes in many forms. It's not always about dramatic battles or public recognition. Sometimes it's about the relentless pursuit of knowledge, the dedication to empowering others, and the courage to challenge the norms of your time. Grace Hopper exemplified all of this. She was audacious in her vision, disciplined in her work, and generous in sharing her knowledge. She transformed computing and left a legacy that continues to shape the world today. So, as you reflect on Grace Hopper, remember that true greatness often exists in quiet determination, in insight, and in the service of others. She changed the way we live, work, and think about technology. She demonstrated that innovation isn't just about brilliance, it's about persistence, vision, and the courage to challenge the impossible. And most importantly, she showed that heroes don't always need applause to make history. Grace Hopper was one of those heroes. Her story is not only inspiring, but essential to understanding the history of computing, the power of innovation, and the value of courage and service. Every time a program runs smoothly, every time a non-technical person uses software with ease, Grace Hopper's influence is there, quietly guiding the world toward progress. Her legacy is woven into the fabric of modern life, a reminder that true heroes often work without recognition, yet leave marks that endure forever. And so, here on Legends Without Applause, we honor her not just for what she accomplished, but for the way she approached life, with intelligence, curiosity, perseverance, and a dedication to improving the world. Grace Hopper's story is a testament to the power of vision, the impact of service, and the lasting significance of unsung heroes. She dared to imagine, she dared to act, and she dared to transform the world quietly, brilliantly, and forever.